The courtroom trembled under the weight of her voice. The woman stood up, screaming at Judge Judy like fury itself had taken human form. Papers scattered, gasps echoed, cameras froze. But Judy did not move. Her eyes stayed fixed, calm, dissecting, almost surgical. When the shouting stopped, the silence felt like judgment. And then Judy spoke. Just one sentence that would make every person in that room forget how to breathe. The echo of her scream still trembled through the courtroom like aftershock. Papers fluttered to the floor, slow and soundless now, as if afraid to make more noise. Judge Judy didn't move. Not even a blink. The woman before her, Carla Mercer, late 30s, dressed in red and fury, stood frozen, chest heaving, eyes darting between rage and realization. "Are you finished?" Judy's voice was quiet, too quiet. It cut through the silence sharper than any shout could. Carla laughed once, that brittle, defensive kind of laugh that sounds more like breaking glass than amusement. "You think you can talk to me like I'm some criminal?" the audience murmured. The bailiff took a half-step forward, ready. Judy lifted a single hand, a gesture so small it silenced the entire room. "I don't think, Miss Mercer. I listen, I judge. That's my job." The camera would have lingered on Carla's face, a mask of arrogance melting into disbelief. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. She'd shouted herself empty. Across the aisle, Erin Wells, a petite woman with the tired composure of someone who'd been strong too long, held a folder against her chest. Her fingers tightened around it, as if the paper inside might give her courage. Judy noticed the gesture. "That's your evidence?" she asked. Erin nodded, voice soft. "Yes, Your Honor," Carla scoffed, tossing her hair. "Evidence of what? Her own guilt? That woman's obsessed with me. I've been harassed for months, and now she wants to make me look crazy on television." The tone was venom wrapped in confidence. Judy leaned back, studying her like a surgeon observing a patient refusing anesthesia. "So you're saying the plaintiff, a schoolteacher, has spent her free time harassing you?" Carla smirked. "Teachers can be petty too." A ripple of disapproval passed through the audience. The bailiff's jaw tightened. Erin said nothing. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than Carla's entire tirade. Judy turned to the clerk. "Let the record show the defendant claims victimhood, but provides no documentation." Then back to Carla. "Do you have anything to support your claim?" Carla hesitated, just long enough for everyone to notice. "I don't keep screenshots. I don't live online like she does." Judy's eyebrow rose. "And yet you were the one posting?" The color drained from Carla's face, a brief flicker gone almost instantly. But Judy saw it. Everyone did. The judge didn't smile. She simply shifted her pen, the faint scratch of ink filling the quiet. "You seem confident," Judy said softly. "Confidence can be good, until it replaces truth." Carla straightened her shoulders, defensive. "You'll see I'm telling the truth." Judy's gaze moved to Erin. "Then let's see it." The young teacher stepped forward, opening her folder. The paper inside rustled like whispers from another life. The camera would close in on Judy's eyes. Calm, dissecting, almost surgical. And then, with the faintest nod, she said, "Let us see what truth you brought with you." The air tightened again, waiting for whatever was about to crawl out of those pages. The folder opened like a confession. Inside, page after page, photographs, screenshots, and a single printed text thread, each one carrying the weight of someone's fear in ink. Judge Judy didn't reach for it immediately. She let the silence do its work first. Every courtroom has a heartbeat, and right now it was holding its breath. Erin's hands trembled as she laid the first photo on the desk. "That was my door," she whispered. 2 in the morning. The camera would have cut closer. A grainy picture of a red sedan parked just inches from her porch steps. In the reflection of the glass, a woman's silhouette, unmistakably Carla, her face lit by a phone screen. Carla smirked. "I was delivering a letter. It's called being polite." "Polite?" Judy repeated, her voice steady, low. "At 2 in the morning." The audience shifted, whispers spilling like wind across dry leaves. Judy's eyes flicked toward the gallery, silencing them with one look. Then back to Carla. "Continue, Miss Wells." Erin nodded, sliding the next photo forward. Her mailbox, its door bent inward, stuffed with torn notes. One of them read in all caps, "Say goodbye to your job." Carla let out a scoff. "I didn't write that." Judy didn't react. She simply gestured toward the paper. Whose handwriting is it then? Carla hesitated. 1 second too long. I don't know. Could be anyone. Erin reached into the folder again. There's more. She placed a series of printed text messages on the desk. They were brief but sharp enough to cut. You think you're safe? Watch your back. The courtroom fell still. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to dim a little. Carla crossed her arms, leaning back. She's dramatizing. I texted her once. I told her to stop spreading rumors. She's twisting everything. Judy's pen tapped once against her notepad, a quiet, deliberate rhythm. Miss Wells, have you spoken to law enforcement about these? Yes, Your Honor. They said unless she directly threatened harm, it wasn't criminal. But it didn't stop. She started showing up. Outside my house, that line hung heavy in the air. Even the bailiff's expression changed. Empathy softened his usual stoic face. Carla rolled her eyes. She's paranoid. Maybe it was a delivery driver. Judy looked at her sharply. You seem to have explanations for everything except proof. The defendant's lips parted, but the words stumbled. I don't need proof. I know what happened. That's not how truth works here, Judy said quietly. It's not what you know. It's what you can show. Carla laughed again, brittle and high-pitched. Oh, please, Your Honor. She even said I cursed her. Maybe she thinks I'm a witch, too. The audience chuckled nervously, but Judy didn't. She looked to Erin. Is that true? Did you say she cursed you? Erin's voice was small but certain. Yes. The night she came to my door, she said things I can't even repeat. It wasn't just words, it felt... Wrong, Carla snorted. Oh, come on. Enough, Judy interrupted. The single word slamming like a gavel before the real one did. The camera would close in on Judy's face, her eyes narrowing slightly, the faint reflection of the photographs glinting in them. Then, slowly, she didn't just come to your house and she cursed you. The murmurs stopped. The silence turned electric. Laughter broke the tension. Nervous, uneasy, the kind that hides discomfort behind amusement. A few audience members exchanged glances, unsure whether to smirk or shiver. Carla seized the sound like oxygen, throwing her arms wide as if she had just proven her point. You hear that? She barked, flashing a manic grin. Even they know how ridiculous this is. A curse? What is this, Halloween? Judge Judy didn't move. She didn't need to. The silence after Carla's outburst was like a vacuum, pulling the noise right out of the room. Her voice came quiet, deliberate. Miss Mercer, you seem to think laughter changes the truth. Carla's grin faltered. Judy turned to Erin. Miss Wells, take a deep breath. Tell me exactly what you mean by cursed. Not opinion, description. Erin swallowed hard, hands clasped tightly. It was the night after I told her to stop messaging me. I heard pounding on my door around midnight. When I opened the blinds, she was outside yelling things I didn't understand. What kind of things? She said. Erin's voice wavered. She said my name like it hurt her to say it. And then the light started flickering. My vase fell off the shelf. It shattered without anyone touching it. Carla laughed again, too loudly. That's called gravity, sweetheart. Miss Mercer, Judy snapped. Still calm but sharper now. Interrupt again and you'll find yourself outside this courtroom faster than that vase fell. The room fell back into silence. Erin continued, eyes fixed on the table. When I looked back out the window, she was still there. She said, You took what's mine and I'll take what's yours. Then she left. The line hung like smoke in the air. The courtroom, usually filled with murmurs and shifting feet, was utterly still. Judy's expression didn't change. Did you report this incident? I did. The police came, but she was gone. They said there was no evidence of forced entry. Carla snorted softly. Because there wasn't. She's telling ghost stories. Judy's gaze cut to her like a blade. Miss Mercer, what were you doing that night? Carla hesitated. The confidence in her tone faltered for the first time. I don't remember. Probably asleep. Alone? Obviously. Can anyone verify that? Carla opened her mouth, then closed it again. Why should I have to prove I was in my own house? Judy leaned forward slightly. Because your house seems to move when anger calls. The room exhaled, one long collective breath of shock. Even the cameraman adjusted his lens, catching Carla's face at the exact moment arrogance met uncertainty. Carla stood suddenly, palms flat on the table. You think you can talk to me like that? You don't know me. No, Judy said softly. But I'm starting to. The tension crackled. Carla's voice rose again, words slicing through the heavy air. You deserved it. The crowd gasped. Judy didn't flinch. Deserved what? Carla froze, too late to take it back. The sound of the gavel echoed once, slow and deliberate, like thunder far away. Sit down, Judy ordered. Before you finish what you just started to admit. The defendant hesitated, trembling now beneath her own fury. The air was different now, heavier, quieter, as if even the walls were listening. Carla sat down, but not by choice. It was the kind of collapse disguised as obedience. Her eyes darted toward the cameras, toward the audience, anywhere but toward the woman she'd just admitted to tormenting. Judge Judy's gavel rested on the bench, untouched, yet its echo still lingered. You just said something interesting, Miss Mercer, she began, voice low and steady. You said she deserved it. Carla folded her arms, chin high again. It's a figure of speech. You people twist everything. You people, Judy repeated, tone flattening into surgical precision. Who exactly is you people? Carla flinched. Judges, TV courts, everyone pretending to know me. Judy leaned forward slightly, her gaze narrowing to a pinpoint. Pretending requires effort. I don't pretend. I observe. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet, it was diagnostic. A room full of strangers watching one woman's confidence slowly dissected. Erin remained seated, eyes lowered. She looked more sorrowful than vindictive, as if watching someone unravel didn't bring relief, only recognition of how far cruelty can fall. Judy's hand moved at last, signaling to the clerk. Play the recording. Carla's head snapped up. What recording? The one the plaintiff submitted, Judy replied evenly. Security footage from her front door. You were notified of its inclusion 2 weeks ago. The screen behind them flickered on, for a moment static. Then the image appeared, dim, grainy night vision. A woman pacing in front of a house, her gestures erratic, her shadow stretching long across the concrete. Carla's mouth opened, but no sound came. The audio filled the courtroom, muffled shouting, a voice unmistakably hers, harsh, unfiltered. Not mystical curses, not threats from another world. Just rage. I'll make sure you regret this. You think you can humiliate me? Each line played back like a heartbeat she couldn't control. Erin's hands trembled, but her gaze didn't falter. Carla shifted in her seat, face flushing red. That doesn't prove anything. People say things when they're upset. Judy's pen tapped once against her notepad, a familiar rhythm of patience thinning. That wasn't upset, she said quietly. That was harassment. Carla laughed weakly, desperate. Oh, come on. Judy raised her voice just enough. And when you said you'll lose everything, what did you mean by that? Carla hesitated, lips parting, words tangled in panic. I don't remember saying that. The judge tilted her head. Our memories often fail us right after the truth arrives. The audience stayed still, no movement, no sound. Just the quiet collapse of arrogance. Carla's eyes filled with tears she didn't understand. I didn't mean, I just wanted her to stop. Stop what? Judy asked. Carla's voice cracked. Making me feel small. For a second, and one fleeting second, the courtroom glimpsed something human under the fury. The kind of fragility arrogance was built to hide. Judy's gaze softened, but her words did not. What you call a curse, she said slowly, I call cruelty. Carla looked up, trembling. So what happens now? Judy leaned forward, the camera closing in on her calm, unyielding face. Now, she said, we see how deep the damage goes. The gavel struck once, the sound sharper than before, and in that echo, something cracked deeper than pride. The curse is no spell. It's harassment caught on camera. The illusion breaks. Arrogance falter. The gavel's echo hadn't even faded when Carla's chair scraped violently against the floor. The sound made everyone flinch, everyone except Judge Judy. Carla stood up, her voice trembling but loud. You can't talk to me like I'm some kind of monster. You don't know what she's done to me. Judy didn't move. Her stillness was the most dangerous thing in the room. Then tell me, she said, each word measured like the swing of a pendulum. Carla blinked, momentarily disarmed. What? You said I don't know. So explain it. Tell me what she's done. The cameras shifted. A slow pan across Carla's face. fury battling with fear, ego scrambling for footing. She's been spreading lies about me. She told people I'm unstable, that I need help. Erin's voice came quiet but steady. I said you needed to stop. Stop what? Judy asked. Erin's fingers tightened around the edge of the desk. Stop showing up at my school. Stop waiting by my car. The gallery gasped. The bailiff straightened, ready. Carla's smile flickered. I was just driving by. Judy's tone sharpened slightly. How many times did you drive by, Miss Mercer? Carla's mouth opened, closed. I don't keep count of every street I use. That's convenient, Judy replied dryly. You seem to remember every insult you've received, but not the harm you've caused. Carla's jaw clenched. You're twisting everything. She's playing the victim because it makes her look innocent on television. You all love a sob story. Judy finally leaned forward, elbows on the desk. The motion was small, but it pulled the entire room toward her. This isn't television for me. It's a courtroom. And arrogance doesn't look good under these lights. The audience murmured again, a ripple of quiet judgment. The bailiff's hand hovered near his belt, not for threat, but for order. Carla exhaled hard, defiant to the last. You know what? This whole thing's rigged. You're biased. Everyone here just wants to see me fall. Judy's eyes didn't blink. No one here has to want it. You're doing it on your own. That landed like a blade. Carla's shoulders tensed. Her breath hitched. Erin's eyes filled, not from victory, but exhaustion. The years of fear were catching up with her all at once. Judy noticed. Miss Wells, she said softly, do you have the messages you mentioned earlier, the ones that were deleted? Carla froze. What messages? Judy turned her gaze back to her, almost kindly. The ones you said you never sent. For the first time, Carla looked afraid. Not angry, afraid. Erin reached into her bag and placed a flash drive on the clerk's desk. They were backed up automatically. Judy nodded once. Have them printed by morning. Then to Carla. If they say what she claims, you'll read every word aloud in this courtroom. Carla's voice dropped to a whisper. You can't make me do that. Judy's reply was soft but lethal. You're right. The truth will. The gavel struck on once. The day's hearing adjourned. Carla stood frozen, staring at the folder, realizing that for the first time in her life, her own words might be what destroy her. The next morning opened mid-action. The clerk's printer whirred like a slow drumbeat as fresh pages slid onto the tray, black text on white paper, a trail of digital ghosts. Carla sat at the defendant's table, her fingers tapping a furious rhythm against the wood. She refused to look at Erin, refused to look at the judge. But every second of silence made the air around her feel heavier. Judge Judy entered, robe sweeping, eyes sharp but unreadable. She took her seat, and before the gavel even touched the desk, the courtroom was silent. Miss Wells, she said calmly, I understand the messages have been recovered. Erin nodded. The clerk stepped forward, handing Judy the stack of printed evidence, up a clean, damning stack. Judy didn't look at it right away. She set it beside her, folded her hands and stared at Carla. Before I read these, she said, I'll give you one chance to tell me what I'm about to find. Carla's mouth twitched. Private conversations. Misunderstood jokes. None of it matters, private, Judy repeated softly. The word people use when they mean unkind. Carla rolled her eyes, but her voice cracked slightly. Everyone says things they don't mean. Judy nodded once. And most of them don't send them at 2 in the morning. The camera would have cut closer. Judy's hand lifting the first page, eyes scanning the lines. Her expression didn't change, but the air did. You'll never be respected again. She turned the page. I'll make sure no one hires you. Another page. You took what's mine. I'll take what's yours. Each sentence fell heavier than the last, echoing across the quiet room like footsteps down a long corridor. Carla sat rigid. Her hands had stopped moving. Judy lowered the papers, voice still steady. Do you deny writing these? Carla's eyes darted left, then right. That could be anyone. People fake messages all the time. The judge leaned forward, one brow raised. Would you like me to have a forensic expert confirm the timestamps and IP addresses? It won't take long. Carla froze. Judy continued. You didn't curse her life with magic, Miss Mercer. You cursed it with cruelty. You made sure she lost her peace, her reputation, her sense of safety, all so you could feel taller for 5 minutes. The audience stayed silent. No gasps, no whispers. Just that slow, collective realization that the so-called curse was nothing mystical at all. Erin's eyes shimmered with restrained emotion. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't vindictive. She was just breathing again. Carla tried to speak, but no sound came out. Her throat tightened. The mask cracked further. Judy placed the papers down gently. "Cruelty leaves fingerprints," she said. "And you signed yours with every message you thought you'd deleted." Carla's voice finally broke free, trembling, furious. "You don't understand. She humiliated me first." "No," Judy replied, calm as winter. "She just survived you." For a moment, Carla's defiance faded into disbelief, that awful stillness when arrogance begins to realize it's cornered. Judy's gaze softened, but only slightly. "The truth has a way of staying alive," she said. "Even when people try to erase it." The gavel struck once, sharp and final. If you were sitting in that courtroom, would you stay silent or speak up when cruelty hides behind confidence? Carla's defiance returned like a reflex, shaky, desperate, but loud enough to fill the silence she couldn't bear. "This is absurd. You're all acting like I'm some villain in a movie. Those messages, they're taken out of context. You don't know what she said to me first." Judge Judy didn't respond right away. She let Carla's voice bounce off the courtroom walls until even Carla began to hear how hollow it sounded. The audience's faces had changed, curiosity replaced with quiet judgment. Finally, Judy spoke. "Context," she said softly. "That's an interesting word. It's what guilty people reach for when the truth becomes inconvenient." Carla stiffened. "You don't scare me, Judge." "Good," Judy replied, eyes never leaving hers. "Then maybe you'll finally listen." The camera would have panned slowly toward Erin, sitting at the plaintiff's desk, posture small but steady. She wasn't gloating. She was enduring. "Miss Wells," Judy said, "did you ever respond to these messages?" Erin shook her head. "Only once. I asked her to stop." Judy turned to Carla. "And what did you do after she asked you to stop?" Carla hesitated. I might have posted something, but it wasn't about her." "Show me," Judy said flatly. Carla blinked. "What? You said it wasn't about her. Then you won't mind showing us." Carla glanced nervously toward her phone on the table. "It's personal." "Harassment always is," Judy replied. "Hand it over to the bailiff." A murmur swept through the gallery. The bailiff stepped forward, extending his hand. For a moment it seemed Carla might refuse, but pride made the decision for her. She dropped the phone into his palm with a huff. "You'll regret this." "My privacy ends where cruelty begins," Judy interrupted. "Unlock it." Carla hesitated again, jaw tight. Slowly she entered her code. The screen lit up, a glowing archive of posts and messages. Judy gestured to the clerk. "Search for her name." A minute later, the monitor on the judge's bench displayed the results, a stream of screenshots, captions and subtle jabs. Erin's face lifted from her school's website, overlaid with mocking text. Carla tried to defend herself, words tumbling out faster than her breath. They were jokes. "Everyone does this online. It's satire." Judy's tone dropped to a surgical calm. "Satire requires intelligence. This is spite." Erin's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. She'd spent months hiding from humiliation, and now it was here, in daylight, in front of everyone. And somehow it no longer had power over her. Judy turned to the clerk again. "Miss Wells, did you bring the metadata from these posts?" "Yes, Your Honor. The IP addresses were verified." "Good," Judy said. "Submit them to the record." Carla's smirk vanished completely. Her voice cracked. "You can't prove that's me." Judy leaned forward, eyes glinting beneath the fluorescent lights. "That's exactly what I intend to do." The audience went still. Even the bailiff paused mid-step, sensing the storm about to land. Judy tapped the desk once. "Bailiff, request the IP record for the account owner." Carla's breath caught. "Wait, what are you doing?" "Following the trail," Judy said calmly. "If the words don't lie, the connection will." The gavel struck once, deliberate, echoing like a countdown. The courtroom lights seemed colder now, bright, surgical, exposing everything they touched. Even the audience had stopped shifting in their seats. They could sense it. The moment when bluffs run out and truth steps into the light. Carla sat rigid, arms crossed so tightly her knuckles turned white. The bailiff returned, carrying a thin folder stamped with the network provider's logo. He handed it to the clerk, who passed it silently to Judge Judy. The room's collective breath held steady. Judy opened the file, flipping through its contents with a precision that bordered on art. Her eyes moved line by line, her expression unreadable. Finally, she closed the folder and looked up. According to this, she began, the social media accounts responsible for posting defamatory content against Miss Wells were created using the same IP address registered to your home network. Miss Mercer. The words landed like a gavel before the actual gavel did. Carla blinked, confusion collapsing into panic. No, that's impossible. I don't even know how that works. Someone must have hacked me. Judy tilted her head slightly. All of them? Because these were made from 3 separate devices. A phone, a tablet, and a laptop, all purchased under your name. A few gasps broke through the silence. The camera would have cut to Erin, eyes glistening, her breath trembling in her throat. For months she'd been told it was all in her head. Now proof glared in fluorescent light. Carla's voice rose again, frantic. You don't understand. I didn't mean for it to get this far. Judy's tone stayed even. You didn't mean for it to get caught. Carla's mouth fell open, but no sound came. The truth had already spoken louder than she could. Erin's voice came from the quiet. You made fake profiles pretending to be my students. You called me a fraud, a liar, a thief. Carla's eyes darted between the 2 women. It was a joke. I was angry. She took something from me. Judy's gaze sharpened. And what was that? My respect, Carla shouted, her voice cracking into something raw and jagged. She made me feel invisible, like I didn't matter. I wanted her to feel it too. That confession, part fury, part grief, hovered in the air, heavy and human. Judy let the silence stretch. Then she said quietly, So you built a curse out of humiliation. Carla's lips trembled. I didn't mean to hurt her like that. But you did, Judy said. And you didn't stop. Not when she asked, not when she cried, not even when you saw it breaking her life. Carla's shoulders slumped. The performance was over. The arrogance had burned away, leaving something smaller, scared and startlingly real. You wanted attention, Miss Mercer, Judy continued, her voice steady but piercing. Now you have it, and under oath in front of millions. Carla's tears came hot and fast. Please, don't make me look like a monster. Judy's tone softened slightly. Not with mercy, but with understanding. You made yourself look like one. But maybe this is where that ends. Carla turned away, ashamed. As the bailiff quietly collected her phone and the printed posts from the table, Judge Judy tapped her pen once, her voice the final sound that filled the room. You can leave this courtroom, but not what you just revealed. The audience didn't applaud. They just sat, stunned, absorbing what arrogance looks like when stripped bare. And as the gavel fell, the lights dimmed slightly, not for drama, but for dignity. The curse wasn't supernatural at all, but a campaign of psychological and digital harassment that backfired in front of the world. The next minutes felt like a storm without thunder. The gavel's echo still trembled through the courtroom, but nobody dared to speak. The audience, the bailiff, even the clerk, all frozen, watching a woman unravel before their eyes. Carla sat in silence, mascara streaking down her face, her breath shallow and uneven. She looked smaller now, stripped of the armor she'd built out of ego. For the first time since the hearing began, she wasn't performing, she was just breaking. Judge Judy didn't gloat. She didn't even look triumphant. Her expression was calm, almost weary. Miss Mercer, she said, this courtroom isn't here to destroy you. You've already done that yourself. What happens next is about accountability, not cruelty. Carla looked up, eyes wide with something close to fear. You don't understand. I didn't mean to ruin her life. You meant to control it, Judy replied softly. And when you couldn't, you tried to humiliate it. The words hit harder than shouting ever could. The camera would have cut to Erin, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her body still, but her eyes telling a different story. There was no joy in her victory, only relief trembling on the edge of grief. Judy turned to her. Miss Wells, do you have anything you wish to say before I proceed? Erin hesitated. The entire courtroom leaned into her silence. Then she spoke. I just want it to stop. I don't want to hate her. I just want to stop being afraid. Judy nodded, slow and deliberate. That's the difference between you two. You want peace. She wanted power. Carla winced, shaking her head. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what it's like to have everyone ignore you until you do something extreme. Judy's gaze sharpened. And now they're watching. Is this the attention you wanted? Carla's mouth opened, but the words tangled. The cameras caught the flicker of realization in her face. The dawning truth that this spectacle, this public unmasking, had cost her everything she'd been desperate to protect. Control, dignity, identity. Judy leaned back. You said once that people needed to respect you. Respect isn't forced. It's earned. And right now the only thing you've earned is reflection. The audience didn't move. Even the hum of the lights seemed quieter, as if the courtroom itself was listening to what wasn't being said. Carla whispered, I'm sorry. Judy didn't answer immediately. She let the apology hang there, fragile, uncertain, almost believable, before replying, sorry is easy. Change is hard. Carla wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup into something almost tragic. Judy sighed softly. The court will recess for 15 minutes. When we return, we'll discuss restitution and next steps. Until then, think about what your silence might have spared you. The gavel struck once, the sound final yet oddly merciful. The bailiff moved to escort Carla out, but she didn't rise. She just sat there staring at her own reflection in the glossy surface of the table. The first honest thing she'd seen in months. Erin turned slightly toward her, as if to speak, then stopped. Some truths didn't need to be repeated. They were already written across the wreckage. Do you think remorse should erase guilt, or does justice demand accountability, even when the tears are real? 15 minutes later, the courtroom doors opened again. The sound was faint, a creak that seemed to announce more than just the return of order. Carla Mercer stepped in first, slower this time, shoulders slumped, her once fiery eyes now dulled to the color of exhaustion. Behind her, the cameras followed, capturing the hollow shell of someone who had spent all her energy defending the indefensible. Judge Judy was already seated. Her hands rested atop her notes, untouched since the break. The courtroom was silent again, the kind of silence that didn't just wait, it watched. Carla sat down without being told. She didn't look up. Miss Mercer, Judy began, before we move forward, I'd like to give you another chance to explain your behavior. Not justifies, explain. Carla looked up, confusion flickering in her eyes. What's the difference? Judy's voice was calm, almost gentle. Justification is for people still lying to themselves. Explanation is for those who've started to see the truth. The line landed like a quiet blow. Carla exhaled shakily, wiping her palms on her skirt. I didn't think it was that serious. I just wanted to make her feel what I felt, like she wasn't better than me. Erin's eyes lifted from the table, surprised, maybe even sympathetic for a fraction of a second. Judy tilted her head slightly. Better than you? Is that how you saw her? Carla hesitated. She had everything I didn't. Friends, respect, people who listened. I was invisible until she took something from me. What did she take? Judy asked quietly. Carla blinked. Attention. People liked her. When I spoke, they rolled their eyes. When she spoke, they listened. I wanted to change that. The courtroom was still, painfully still. Somewhere in the back, a spectator shifted in their seat, the sound slicing through the quiet like a whisper of conscience. Judy's eyes didn't move from Carla. You thought cruelty would make you visible. Carla nodded slowly, tears brimming. It worked, didn't it? Everyone sees me now. Judy's voice softened, not out of pity but precision. They don't see you. They see the damage. That's not visibility, it's infamy. Carla lowered her head, tears falling soundlessly onto the table. I don't know who I am anymore. Judy sighed, resting her hand against the bench. That's what happens when you spend your life trying to define yourself by what you can destroy. Then turning to Erin, Miss Wells, I have to ask, why didn't you fight back sooner? Erin hesitated, voice trembling but clear. Because I thought kindness could protect me. That line hung in the air, fragile but unbreakable. It silenced even Carla's sobs. Judy looked at her, eyes soft but steady. Kindness does protect, Miss Wells, just not from people who weaponize it. Erin's eyes glistened. Carla's broke. The power in the room shifted completely, from outrage to reckoning, from pride to pain. Judy sat back, her gavel resting beneath her palm. "We'll continue," she said, her tone final yet reflective. "But from here on, every answer matters, because it's the last chance to tell the truth before it tells itself." Carla nodded weakly, whispering, "I understand." And for the first time in the entire trial, she might have meant it. The courtroom was quieter than a chapel. Even the cameras seemed hesitant to breathe. Judge Judy leaned back slightly in her chair, her fingers steepled. That look she gave when she'd already found the truth but wanted to see if the guilty would find it. Carla sat across from her, drained and trembling. Gone was the sharp-tongued woman in red who had cursed and clawed her way through the first hour. In her place was something smaller, the hollow echo of pride collapsing under its own weight. Judy began softly, almost conversationally. "Miss Mercer, you've said a lot about what others have done to you, about how invisible you felt, but I've noticed you haven't once mentioned what you've done to yourself." Carla frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," Judy said, "that every time you hurt someone, you're not punishing them. You're confirming your own worst fear. That you're powerless." Carla looked up sharply, eyes glistening. "I'm not powerless." Judy nodded slightly. "Then why did you need to break someone else just to feel seen?" Carla opened her mouth, then stopped. Words wouldn't come. They never do when truth arrives uninvited. Judy reached for a file, flipping it open with quiet precision. "Miss Mercer, you told us this was the first time you've ever been accused of harassment." Carla froze. "Because it is." Judy's tone didn't change. "That's interesting." "Because this," she said, holding up a form, "is a prior complaint, filed 2 years ago by a woman in your neighborhood. Same kind of messages, same late-night visits." A collective murmur rippled through the courtroom. Carla's hand flew to her mouth. "No, that's not, I didn't." Judy set the paper down. "You did. And you did it again. Different face, same wound." The bailiff took a slow step forward. Not because Carla was dangerous, but because truth can make people unpredictable. Carla's voice cracked. "I just wanted people to notice me." There it was, the sentence that cracked the floor beneath her. The audience's eyes softened, not in sympathy but in tragic recognition. Judy spoke quietly. "And now they do. For exactly who you are." Tears spilled freely now. "I didn't mean for it to become this. I thought if I made her look weak, I'd look strong." Judy's face held no cruelty, only gravity. "Strength doesn't come from making noise, Miss Mercer. It comes from facing the silence you've been running from." The silence after that was different, not the tense hush of judgment, but something heavier, almost sacred. The courtroom wasn't witnessing punishment anymore. It was watching awakening. Erin looked at her, eyes soft but unwavering. "I would have forgiven you," she whispered, "if you'd just stopped." Carla met her gaze, and for the first time, didn't look away. Judy's final words for the day came quiet, deliberate and absolute. Accountability is the only cure for shame. The sooner you stop hiding from it, the sooner you can start becoming someone else. The gavel fell once, not as condemnation, but as benediction. The evil wasn't born from malice, but from emptiness, a desperate hunger for acknowledgement that turned compassion into control. The sound of the gavel lingered like a final heartbeat, then faded into silence so complete it felt physical. No one moved. The cameras held steady on Judge Judy's face, calm, deliberate, unreadable, as if she were waiting for the room itself to understand what had just shifted. Carla Mercer sat still, her head bowed, tears marking small uneven circles on the polished surface of the desk. A woman who once screamed to be seen now looked invisible by choice. The arrogance that had filled the courtroom at the start was gone, replaced by something quieter, the hollow ache of recognition. Judge Judy spoke at last. Her voice was steady but softer than before. "This is the part most people never understand," she said. "Punishment is easy. Change is the hard part." Carla's voice broke the stillness. "What happens to me now?" "You make restitution," Judy replied. "Financial, emotional, whatever this court decides. But that's not the part that matters most." Carla looked up through her tears. "Then what does?" Judy met her eyes. "What you do when no one's watching. That's the only test that ever counts." The camera would have cut to Erin, quiet, composed, her hands clasped in her lap. She wasn't celebrating. She wasn't even relieved. There was only sadness there. The sadness of realizing justice doesn't undo damage. It only stops it from growing. Judy turned to her. "Miss Wells, you've handled yourself with restraint and grace. That's not common." Erin nodded faintly. "I just wanted to feel safe again." "That's a fair thing to want," Judy said. "And that's exactly what she took from you." The judge paused, then looked back at Carla. "You spent so much time trying to take from others. You forgot the one thing you actually needed to give yourself: peace." Carla stared at the bench, unable to meet Judy's gaze. "I don't know how to do that anymore." Judy leaned forward slightly. "Then start by not destroying anyone else's." A ripple of quiet emotion spread through the audience. It wasn't pity. It was the quiet understanding of watching someone stripped bare of every excuse they'd ever built. The clerk slid a document toward Judy for signature, the restitution order. Judy glanced over it, then placed her pen down without signing. "Not yet," she said softly. "Miss Mercer, I'll give you a moment before I finalize this." Carla frowned, confused. "Why?" "Because," Judy said, "I want you to understand what the word restitution really means. It doesn't mean money. It means restoration." "And there's no check big enough to buy that," the audience murmured in agreement. Erin looked down, her expression caught between empathy and closure. Carla finally whispered, voice shaking, "Am I going to jail?" Judy's gaze held hers, unwavering. "That depends on what you do after walking out that door." The gavel rested silently beside her hand, unneeded now. The real verdict was already delivered, in Carla's silence, in Erin's composure, in the strange, delicate calm that follows when cruelty runs out of words. The camera would linger on Judy's face, not stern, not cold, but tired. Tired in the way truth makes a person when it finally stops running. Outside, the day had turned grey, the kind of muted light that makes everything feel quieter, softer, as if the world itself was processing what had just unfolded inside. Reporters waited near the courthouse steps, cameras humming, microphones ready to capture something sensational. But the story they were about to film wasn't one of victory. It was one of aftermath. Carla Mercer emerged first. Gone was the red blazer, the confident stride, the smirk that once dared anyone to challenge her. Now she walked as if the ground beneath her were fragile, unsure whether it would hold her weight. Flashes erupted, photographers calling her name, but she didn't look up. The arrogance that once demanded attention now hid from it. A few steps behind her, Erin Wells appeared. Her expression wasn't proud nor bitter. It was composed, the calm of someone who had survived the storm and was learning how to breathe again. Reporters swarmed her, voices overlapping. "Miss Wells, how do you feel about the verdict? Do you think she deserved harsher punishment? Are you satisfied with Judge Judy's decision?" Erin paused at the foot of the stairs, turning just enough for the cameras to see her face. Her eyes were steady, her voice quiet but firm. "Justice isn't revenge," she said. "It's just the truth finally saying my name out loud." The crowd fell silent. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate, unsure how to capture grace in motion. Inside the courthouse, Judge Judy stood in her chambers, robe half removed, her reflection staring back from the mirror. For the first time that day, she allowed herself a breath, long, heavy, human. The kind of exhale only truth can pull from a person. The bailiff knocked once and entered. "They're both outside now," he said softly. "Media's all over it," Judy nodded. "Let them. Some stories need to be seen," he hesitated. "There's one more thing. The defendant, Carla, she wants to apologize. On camera." Judy looked up slowly, eyes narrowing with quiet contemplation. "To me or to the plaintiff?" She said both. The judge didn't respond immediately. She turned toward the window, watching the swarm of reporters below. "Mercy is easy when people are watching," she said at last. "Let's see if she means it when they stop." The bailiff nodded and left, leaving Judy alone with her thoughts. The camera would pull in close now, her face half lit by the grey light through the blinds, the other half shadowed. The faint sound of thunder rolled in the distance, a soft punctuation to the weight in the room. For the first time, Judy whispered to no one in particular. Sometimes the hardest part of justice is knowing when to stop swinging. Outside, Erin glanced over her shoulder. Carla stood several feet away, frozen at the edge of the media frenzy. A woman trying to step forward, trapped by shame, Their eyes met for a brief moment through the chaos. No words, just the kind of silence that carries both closure and the question of what forgiveness might cost. The courtroom looked different when the cameras came back on. The harsh lights that once glared down like interrogation lamps now seemed gentler, diffused through a softer haze. The energy had shifted from judgment to reckoning. The storm was gone, but the air still carried its echo. Carla Mercer stood near the center of the room, eyes swollen, voice trembling. Her once immaculate makeup was smudged into muted streaks. The bright red of her lipstick had faded, leaving only the outline, a ghost of who she'd been. She clutched a crumpled tissue, the kind of fragile prop that told its own story. Judge Judy sat quietly at the bench, hands folded. She said nothing, only gestured for Carla to begin. Carla swallowed hard. Her voice broke before it began. "I know nothing I say can undo what I've done," she said softly, "but I can't leave this room without saying it." The camera panned across the audience, still breath held. Erin Wells sat to one side, her face calm but unreadable. Carla continued, voice trembling. "When I started all this, I thought I was standing up for myself. I thought I was fighting back. But all I did was turn into the kind of person I used to be afraid of." A tear slipped down her cheek, slow and deliberate, as though even her emotions were learning humility. "I hurt someone who didn't deserve it," she whispered. "Someone who never fought back, even when she had every reason to. And I told myself she was the problem, because I couldn't stand to see what I'd become." Judy's eyes softened, but her tone stayed steady. "You're not here to perform remorse, Miss Mercer. You're here to own it." Carla nodded, voice cracking. "I know. That's why I'm not asking for forgiveness. I needed to say I'm sorry unto her." The judge turned her gaze to Erin. "Miss Wells?" Erin stood slowly. She looked at Carla not as an enemy, but as something else, a mirror she no longer feared. Her voice was quiet, but every syllable carried. "I believe you," she said. Carla blinked, startled. "You do?" "I believe you're sorry," Erin said. "But I don't trust you. Not yet." The words landed not like a slap, but a truth, the kind that cleans more than it cuts. Judy nodded approvingly. "That's fair," she said. "Forgiveness is earned the same way respect is, in silence, through time, without announcement." The courtroom remained still. Carla wept openly now, no longer shielding her face from the cameras. There was no performance left in her, only release. Judy lifted her gavel but didn't strike it. Instead, she looked between them, the victim and the offender, and said quietly, "Apology doesn't erase damage. It only proves you finally see it." Then at last she brought the gavel down. The sound was softer than before, less thunder, more closure. The crowd didn't react, but every person in the room felt something loosen, something exhale. Carla nodded through tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Erin didn't reply. She just turned, picked up her folder and walked toward the exit. For the first time, Carla didn't follow her with her eyes, because this time, she finally knew when to stop. Before you hear the final verdict, ask yourself, can anyone truly change, or do people just get better at hiding who they are? The courtroom was empty now. The seats that had been filled with whispers and judgment sat still beneath the dimming lights. The echo of the last gavel strike lingered like an aftertaste, bitter for some, cleansing for others. The storm had passed, but the quiet that followed felt heavier than thunder. Judge Judy remained at her bench long after the cameras stopped rolling. Her robe hung loosely around her shoulders, her hands folded before her, not as a symbol of authority but as a reminder of its weight. Justice, she knew, was never about punishment. It was about the cost of being human. She looked toward the door where Carla Mercer had exited just minutes before. The memory of that apology still hung in the air, fragile, trembling, imperfect, but real. And in this courtroom, real was rare. The bailiff stepped forward softly. "Would you like me to lock up, Judge?" "Not yet," she said, voice distant. "Let the room breathe a little first." He nodded and left quietly, his footsteps fading into the hallway. A faint rustle drew her gaze. Erin Wells had returned, standing near the back of the room. Her folder was gone, replaced by something simpler, peace. "I didn't expect you to come back," Judy said, not surprised, just curious. Erin smiled faintly. "I just wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For not letting her lie to herself anymore." Judy studied her a moment, then nodded. "That's not my doing. The truth always gets impatient eventually. Erin looked around the room, the bench, the floor, the empty witness stand. It's strange. I thought winning would feel louder. Judy's lips curved, the ghost of a smile. Real justice doesn't roar, Miss Wells. It whispers after the noise dies down. The lines settled into the still air, filling the space like a benediction. Erin took a breath. Do you think she'll change? Judy paused, her eyes distant. And that's the thing about people who build their lives on control. When it finally breaks, some rebuild better. Others just find a new way to hide the cracks. Erin nodded, absorbing the words, then quietly turned to leave. Her footsteps echoed down the aisle, slow, steady, unhurried. The sound of someone finally walking away from fear. Judy watched her go, then exhaled. For a moment, she allowed the weight to slip from her shoulders. The robe suddenly felt heavier, but her heart lighter. She gathered her papers, stood and looked around the empty room one last time. The wooden benches glowed under the fading light, and in that stillness, something sacred hummed. Not victory, not defeat, just the quiet rhythm of truth having done its job. At the door, Judy paused, turning off the final light. The darkness folded in behind her, soft, complete, and as she stepped out into the hallway, her voice, calm, low, certain, carried the final verdict not just of the case, but of the story itself. Arrogance always collapses under truth, and when it does, the silence it leaves behind. That's justice finally breathing. The camera would linger on the empty bench, light fading, echoes dissolving, until there was nothing left but quiet.